What does my next guest think of the president's plan that he laid out today? Former NYC Police Commissioner Howard Safir joins us now. Thank you very much, Commissioner, for your time. You heard the president. You just heard him again as we played a clip there, as he's clearly laying out a way to combat gun crimes in this city. Well, it's a much bigger picture than that. I mean, we just had a young woman, a graduate student, pushed onto the subway tracks and killed. She was not pushed by a gun. So is he addressing the root of the problem? Is he getting to the root of this crisis?
No, he's not. What we have is an unpopular president realizing through his polls that the majority of Americans want crime reduced, visiting with a popular mayor who was elected based on crime. But the fact is, it's not about guns. Guns are just one part of it. What it's about is bail. What it's about is returning to things like broken windows, stop, question, and frisk, and send a message to criminals that if you commit a crime, there's a certainty of arrest. What this president has done in the past, during the George Floyd riots, he said we should be defunding police, we should be restraining police, and he's now changed his tune because he sees that his polls are going further and further down. The way that you're going to change crime is to protect not just the civil rights of criminals, but the civil rights of the victims. And I believe the number one civil right is to be free from harm.
Well, Officer Wilbert Mora's sister, Karina, we all remember, spoke at his funeral yesterday asking the question, who protects the police? Commissioner, listen.
¿Cuántos Wilbert?
How many Wilberts? How many Jasons? How many more officers have to lose their lives before this system changes? The NYPD protects us, but who protects them and who looks after their lives?
What's the answer to that question in this moment?
The answer is to send a message to police that if you take assertive action, that you're going to be backed. You know, we had more police killed last year than in a decade. We've had more police killed in this month than in many months like it in the past. We have to make sure that police understand they can take forceful action when their lives are in danger and not worry about their careers and their families, because that's the message that's been sent for the last year by this president and certainly the de Blasio administration.
Well, the men and women in blue certainly sent a message with their presence in the streets of New York here for that funeral. Commissioner, New York Governor Kathy Hochul, meanwhile, was asked about her meeting with District Attorney Alvin Bragg earlier this week, and she said this about it.
Someone who's been on the job a very short time, people like I cut some slack. Let him work with the other district attorneys. I know they have conversations. Let him work with NYPD and the mayor to identify areas they need to have prosecutions and work together. Let the process play out so he can do what he needs to do, which is help establish that sense of security that New Yorkers are looking for, and that involves gun prosecutions.
So many were hoping the president would call out Bragg's policies today. He did not. But with her words there, she wants to cut him some slack. Does that make her part of the problem, considering it is the DA's far-left policies that are partially to blame for this spike in crime?
Absolutely. The governor should be doing just the opposite. She should be telling Bragg, if you don't prosecute the cases, if you don't go after violent criminals, if you let people out on bail for violent crimes, I'm going to remove you, because she has the power to do that. She sent the absolute wrong message. You know, Bragg's first memo out of the box when he became district attorney was to talk about releasing criminals and not protecting victims. We need a new district attorney in Manhattan.
Commissioner, crime in New York City, just continues to spike, and it affects the businesses. We have heard from so many business owners who say it's hard to operate in this environment, hard to get workers to even show up. They're fearful to come in from some of the surrounding suburbs because they might get attacked on the street. Crime in New York is up 38% in the most recent monthly period. That includes upticks in shootings, hate crimes, subway crimes. So how do you get businesses to return to this city when this situation is so bad? And Commissioner, I'm sure you saw a bunch of major bank CEOs have written a letter telling the mayor, we support your crackdown on crime, but also reminding him that this isn't just about gun violence. That is part of a much bigger picture of spiking crime. But they're demanding something to be done about it because they can't get people to work in this city.
Well, you know, this used to be the safest large city in New York. It's interesting that crime is up 38% because when I was commissioner, we reduced crime by 38%. The fact is, if you let smash and grab mobs run into jewelry stores and department stores and walk out with their booty without anybody even paying attention to them, nobody's going to work in the city. When you have people being shoved off subway trains and nobody's protecting them in the subways, people are not going to come into the city. New York City used to be the economic capital of the country. It's going in the wrong direction. Corporations are leaving. They're going to states like Texas that understand what you have to do with criminals. We need to change that message, or New York City is going to become nothing but chaos.
You just don't see those folks right now. Many of them are still home. Many of them moved across state lines. Appreciate you joining us, Commissioner. We hope things get better. We'll all remain optimistic.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.